record. All right. So maybe we start with an official introduction right now.
Yeah. Please, Stephanie, you go first.
Okay, so yeah, my name is Stephanie Baker, and I'm an astrologer certified, NCGR certified astrologer. That is the National Council on Geographic Research, Geocosmic Research. And then I also, I'm doing tours and retreats that are all having like a purpose, like something meaningful. So that's basically what I'm dedicated to. And astrology is, as I said, my tool. And Roshni and I, we have birthed this idea a little while ago. And so we are just starting casual talks to bring aspects of astrology to people that may find value in it. That maybe as an introduction for me. So I hand the microphone to Roshni right now. Or maybe I just add real quick. I'm located in California, born in Germany, located in California right now. So Roshni, off of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. I'm very honored to be here because when you find like-minded people, the vibration is immediate and you immediately feel supported and you also feel the energetic alignment, which is why Stephanie and I are like two peas in a pod. And I'm sure, Susie, you can also attest to that because she is quite not only read my chart, but she's so beautiful to talk to and has so much knowledge. And to align with someone like that is a true blessing. And when you find them, you work with them, you create with them, you honor them, because this is why the new earth is going to exist. When you find like-minded and aligned people, especially the ones that align with your soul. So my name is Roshni Sharma Fleming. I am a light worker, healer, soul's guide. I'm the founder and CEO of Stillfire Healing Inc. So I have a number of modalities that I work with, but I really subscribe to energy to help people. I also help people heal their early trauma and pain points so that I can replot their data from their soul over into their soul side. So I take the darkness of their ego and I replot it to their soul side. And I was born actually in Kenya, in Africa, in East Africa, and but I currently live in Toronto, Ontario, in Canada. So I am really excited to talk about astrological integration because I think it is a very it's something that is valuable and it can help you to inform your decisions, whether it be in relationships, in business decisions, in business relationships, in connecting with like-minded people. When you have the idea of astrology behind you, I think it's just a valuable piece of information that can help you to connect with other people well. So thank you.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, our theme this first episode is astrology and how to demystify it, because when Roshni and I had previous talks, we figured that it's really suppressed because it is so powerful that people that like to be in control, they like to take that tool away from the people. And in the ancient days, it was used for medical purposes and for planning and kind of like looking ahead in the future and finding strength and living with the cycles, most importantly, and knowing the power of the cycles. So harnessing the natural cycles. So we think that it is important to look back to history and how it came about, where is it coming from. And it is definitely not what you find in places like the yellow press, where they ridicule astrology and they are not serious. A lot of people are not serious today. For example, I picked up that there are some astrologers that say even that today, which is a full moon in the dutiful sign of Virgo, wants to, yes, is a mind oriented and helping, really in the helping, has a strong heart to help and practicality. So that's where we have the new moon, and a couple of astrologers say, oh, it's the new moon and Mercury goes forward now, but it's not the case, because when, first of all, when a planet goes retrograde or forward, direct, if you want. It's an illusion anyway. I can probably explain that in a minute, but the momentum is not there. So it's kind of like, so it's not forward. So okay, back to what I'm saying about the title. I go to the movements in a little bit. I don't want to mix them too much and make people dizzy. So the title is about like looking back in the past and getting a point, like making sure this is not a foo-foo or woo-woo situation. It's definitely not. It's a very practical science that can be applied. And so yeah, today that's the first one. We want to take a fear away from the people, and then the overall idea that we have is to integrate that for people, private individuals, to live with the moon phases, for example, or therapists like you, Roshni, and even like Susie, she's a healer also, that we can apply the phases, and when we are therapists and when we're doctors, that we look at, okay, the body part that is kind of giving you trouble, what planet rules it or so. So that is to be said about the title. But then I want to, now that I scratched the topic, I really want to talk about the retrograde phases real quick, because today is a day when Mercury kind of like is in its movement, and it's like a slow-mo coming out of retrograde, but still standing still. So a retrograde is just an illusion, because when we imagine we are on the, like we're on a racetrack, like Formula One racetrack, and it's all like surround a green interior space, and then the racetrack is around it. So we have curves. So in the green center, let's say this is the sun, and we all are running around the sun. So when we are on Earth, right? So we are the third object out of, when you count outwards, the sun. So we have Mercury, who's closest to the sun, and we have Venus, and then number three, we are number three. That's where we are standing on. This is where we are looking, like out in the universe, if you want. So if we look to the left, we have Venus, and then over there there's Mercury, and in the center there's Sun. If we look to the right, we have Mars, we have Jupiter, we have Saturn, so all the, like the outer planets, right? So, and when we look at when the planets are, like when we look on, okay, so I have to say it like this so that it makes sense. We are not always at the same spot on the orbit. So when, let's say, Mercury is like to our, like in front of us to the right, and it looks, when we look against the backdrop of the constellations, we are kind of coming closer, and it seems as if Mercury is falling behind, only because we are kind of getting closer to the sun. I don't know whether I'm explaining it well. It's just an optical illusion, because no planet goes retrograde really. So it's only appearing that it falls back. But the energy, of course, because everything is energy and moving, it is affecting our mind, our plants, like animals, the ocean, living organisms, because we are living organisms also in plants. So it does have an impact, and Mercury has a strong impact on our mind. That's why it is so important to think well and not rush forward, and maybe think before we speak sometimes, and make sure we have all our ducks in a row before we send off an email. And so that in terms of retrograde, so when they change the direction from forward to retrograde, or retrograde going forward, they kind of stand still. They hover on the same zodiac degree. And it's almost like, you know, when you have a burning glass and you hold it very long on a leaf, then you can set it on fire, right? So it is stronger energy. And right now, because it's such a weird thing, and before we jumped on, Roshni and I, we figured like this time Mercury retrograde really has a say. And I probably a lot of people can confirm to that. So because today is such a strong day, yes, we have that new moon and we want to see it, but then we have all these other planets retrograde, and Mercury still kind of like slowly, ever so slowly, wanting to stop tomorrow, and then slowly get back to speed again. But it will take a probably like a couple of days and like almost a week until Mercury is to speed again and things keep flowing, even though the outer planets are still retrograde. But right now it is just very necessary. So much is happening out there in the world that we should be thankful that we have a little bit of like a breather time, and also let us organize our thoughts, let us organize our desk and catch up with what's out there, because there's an information overload out there. And so maybe right now is a good moment that I reel myself in and go back to what we wanted to come or bring to the people. And that is the history. So where does it come from? And so it starts back over 4,000 years ago. So Mesopotamia, that's really the cradle of astrology, where they really found the first like traces, cuneiforms and all this. And that was Mesopotamia, Babylonia, Chaldea. Maybe I've heard all of these names. That is where the 7-day week comes from. So the planets that we know 10 planets right now, but the old planets were 7 planets. That's what they could see with the naked eye. So that would be then, of course, sun and moon. They're called luminaries, but we call them planets in astrology. And then the next one is in the row out, like in terms of distance from the sun, is Mercury. Then we have Venus. Then we have Mars, and we don't count Earth because this is us. So Mars, Jupiter and Saturn. So that's what the ancients could see. And then the days were, they were not in the order of the distance from the sun, but whatever the reason is how they named it. But Monday, let's start with the Monday. Monday is Moon Day. Tuesday is Mars Day. It's martes in Spanish. It is mardi en français. And so that's Tuesday. Wednesday is miércoles. So that's Mercury Day. And then we have Thursday, that is Thor, Jupiter Day. That's Thursday is Jupiter. Then we have Friday is Venus Day, Vendredi, Viernes, Venus. And then we have Sábado, Saturday, Saturn Day. And then we have Sunday, which of course is Sunday, and that's Sonntag in Deutsch. So we have pretty much the days. And so that goes back to the old Mesopotamian days. In the old days, they didn't have telescopes, of course, and so they would just look at risings and settings and conjunctions. That is when they looked up on their ziggurats watchtowers, and they saw, oh, there are 2 planets, there are 2 legs coming together. That's a conjunction when the planet goes shoulder to shoulder. And for the eye, for the observer, if you see them in the same degree, no matter, maybe one may be higher in it's called declination. You can be higher and lower on the orbit. So, but it's on the same spot. That's powerful. This is like when we join forces and we go together against a goal or whatever. So we're forcing 2 forces, 2 energies together. And so that's what they had. And what planet was rising with the sun and what planet was setting with the sun. So that gave them kind of like, okay, where we are at in life and whatever. And so then the other, let's see, that is, and then the Venus phases. Venus is always the most reliable. Maybe you have heard of the mandala that Venus draws with the phases. So you have the harmonics also that are based on the 5 cycles in 8 years. It is a beautiful flower that Venus paints with her phases of retrogrades and forwards and all this. So that is what the Mesopotamians used. And then next period was the Egypt period, and that was an astral religion. They had the star Sirius, which was the North Star in the past. Now it's Polaris. They had that, and when that was rising with the sun, they knew, okay, now the Nile is flooding. Now we get the water. Now we get the crops growing, and that was also clockwork. They could set their clocks for that. And the Egypt also, we owe them the calendar system, which had, of course, a couple of changes with the Gregorians and Julian and whatever. It's very artificial, I would say, but it's maybe a different talk. But that's an interesting talk also with the Chinese also together. Okay, and then we have next period is then the Greek period and India. So that's then India started kind of like, so Mesopotamia 4,000 years ago, and then probably like 3,000 years ago was when India started their Hindu Vedic first components of that. So the Greek period is called the Hellenistic, and that was really when it flourished. A lot of horoscope readings were done and teaching. They had so 280 BC. They really had classes going already. So then they had something called horary, when you can, like, you have a pressing question and you just cast a chart for the moment, and you had to do by hand and calculate and all this, and then it would give you information about what the quality of the moment is, and that's nothing else. That's horary. The horos is the hour of the moment. And then the next period after that was when the Romans took over, and they furthered the astronomy part of astrology. It was all one. It only split way later. I get there. We will get to that time period. So so that was the Greeks. They were kind of a little more like how do you say, more brainy versus the intuition and maybe the omen and more spiritual based Egypt or so. And then the next period, or the flourishing, was then the Roman Empire. And that was also the Hellenistic Roman. They all kind of interweaved, but you can kind of say they gave the baton to the next period, and these new ones then furthered a little bit and did some embellishing, and not embellishing, I wouldn't say, but found out more stuff because they watched, of course, this guy. Then so in the Roman Empire, that was when the first time charlatans figured, okay, we can maybe make money out of it and we can control people. And then the Roman emperors, they expulsed those that applied astrology. The court, like the courts, you can say, like the emperors, the like Tiberius and Hadrian, they practiced astrology themselves. So they knew the power, but they didn't want that the common people wanted to use it. And so yeah, mass expulsion. And then we jump to the Middle Ages. So the Middle Ages, from like 7th century to the 14th century, very strong. The Arabs, you still have the Arabian lots of fortune, lot of spirit, maybe you have heard that, a lot of calculation. So it's also more, yeah, you can say calculative and brainy, also more practical. That is not so much, so it's more mundane, valid for everyone. So the people knew like disasters, natural disasters. So it's more meteorology and all this. So plant medicine also. So how the cycles had an impact on plant growth and yeah, health, meteorology, as I said, because there are times, and still today, you know, when the modern planet Uranus is around, there's more earthquakes, and Pisces is about oceans and waters and flooding, and so they had a kind of like a good idea about it already, but they kept it more general, so more for everybody, and not so much for the individual, that they did natal readings and all this, not openly. And horary and electional. Electional is when you find a auspicious time to start a company or get married or do a surgery or so. And that was kind of outlawed also in the medieval times, because it was, as I said, it was too much power for the individual and for the common. So the upper ones, they used it all for themselves, of course, because the king needed to know, will I be healthy again after he fell from his horse or whatever. So they used that for them, but not for the commons. And then we jump forward to the 13th century, Italy, and when a lot of trading went on, you know, what is that called, the Phoenicians and all this, a lot of like also leading commerce, and people or countries and nations wanted to be the ones in charge and all this. And of course, astrology, the power never ceased, you know, and it's only like who may use it and who is like, they didn't want to give the power away to the people again. And but still they taught it at universities, not in the common farmer couldn't go to university. So of course it kept in the same circles again. And so the courts had astrologers and the universities, they taught it. Still, actually, I have to throw in real quick, in Oxford, you can still study astrology at Oxford University. And then we look at the Renaissance, and there they took the Arab texts because they were so detailed and precise with their calculations and mathematics. So in the Renaissance, they translated Arab texts. So you see, the Greeks took it from the like Egypt, and you know how they back and forth. They took the data and the data and the information, and they fine-tuned and they translated again. So the Bourdain sourdough bread from San Francisco, they claim to have the same mushroom that they do the sourdough from. So that kind of, you can see as astrology. So the core is being cultivated. It's a little modified, and maybe other spices and maybe seeds added, and the next period the seeds are out, but still the core is still there. And so then, okay, so back to the Renaissance, there was one thing in Italy especially, there was a guy, Pico della Mirandola, who totally attacked astrology. So he had like big pamphlets that he wrote. And again, that was when astrology was like, oh, we don't want to touch that. And only undercover, they kept it going, of course. And there was basically based on a great flood that was predicted, and it was a very wet year. There was a lot of rain, but it was not that I think it was London or so that the whole city was flooded. So it was a little exaggerated, but then the opponents of astrology said, oh no, we cannot use it anymore, look, it doesn't work at all. And maybe they were paid opposition anyway, you never know what they do today. And then also even Queen Elizabeth had an astrologer, John Dee, who left a lot of very valuable books for us today. And then came the scientific revolution. So that's when the telescopes were detected. That was in the 1600s. So you had Kepler, Galileo, and the famous Copernicus, who said that the sun is at the center. So there was already big movements, and now we have the flat earth, and so we're kind of like in the big moment again when controlling like the social media, the what is it called, AD whatever, the control mechanism on Twitter and all this. Then when they say, oh, certain things we cannot say, and we have to censor everything, and they're the same with the flat earthers, and things that are making people think are dangerous, because we don't want people to think. We want people to just nod to what we tell them. And so then astrology is on and off, and then only in the 17th 18th century was when astrology and astronomy split, when they said, okay, astronomy, yes, of course there are planets, we cannot deny them, they are in the sky and there are circles, so we cannot deny it. But astrology, that's nothing, this is just, it doesn't work, it's just what is it, like magic, and it's like, it's nothing serious. That's when it was really being like dangerously attacked. And then so that point it was on and off, and only in the 20th century it had another rush forward. It was in England. So there were two astrologers, most of all they revived it. That's why in England still astrology is strong. And in Germany we had the Uranian astrology, and also in the US. So they went to the radio stations. So they had radio shows, they wrote books, and presidents had astrologers. The founders of the US they were Masons, and they totally knew about astrology. You find it in the Capitol. And I think Roshni and I were talking about that probably before. I don't remember 100%. So, and then yeah, we had research when the Gauquelins, they are a French couple, they did very like extensive research to make sure that we have something in the hand that we can say, look, you do see red lines, and you actually do. It's just obvious, and the power is there. So that would be like a very quick run through the ages on astrology. First of all, maybe do you have questions, either of you?
You know what I think is when you look at the history of astrology and when astrology and astronomy split, I think it's more so in its purest form, it is a very valuable piece of knowledge that people have and can transport throughout their lifetime and within civilizations in order to guide decision making. And what's important is the practical part of it is you have to take out the fear, right? And I think over time, if fear has come into it, why has it come into it? Is it because of lack of knowledge, lack of access to the knowledge, which is
Yes.
also a problem? If you don't know, yes, fear is going to be there. If you don't have access to this knowledge, fear is going to be there. So how do you dispel the fear of astrology, and how do you make it a practical tool so that in everyday people can say, yes, I'm, for example, I'll give a quick story. I had a call from one of my colleagues. She says, "Oh, you and I know the same connection. I'm going to an interview with her." And I said, "Oh, she's a Virgo. You guys will get along fine."
Yes.
And you are, yes. And so, and you're a Sagittarius. You have a lot of different elements to you. She says, "How do you know that?" I said, "Because in a practical level, when you deal with astrology, there's no fear around it. It's another tool that can help you build relationships with people and to also understand what a bit of their, if they have shortcomings, what they are and why they are like that. And then you're considering the planets as well, because full moons, Virgos, I don't know. We don't do so well always in full moons. We're always, perhaps very emotional,
That is,
for
yes,
example.
yes.
So instead of, getting your ego involved and to try and understand what's happening in a working or business relationship, your marriage, friendships, try and understand like what is happening around this person in terms of their astrology, what's happening on the planetary level, what's happening at the energetic level. If you can inform relationships like that, there's no fear. There's no fear,
That is
right?
exactly, and that's when you look at it as a tool. That is so true, and it does help because, as you say, it's a moon is emotional, and it's the closest what we understand. Even skeptics like my dear brother, so he says like, yeah, the moon I believe, because of course I'm from North Germany. You have drastic tide changes, so the water comes up. When the water goes out by foot, you can walk across the ocean ground, and you can go you walk to an island, or your horse you ride your horse over there, or take a carriage. So that he believes, that is the first step probably, but when people can experiment with that and look, okay, so where's the moon? It's 2.5 days in one sign approximately, and just experiment with yourself. And I think you're making a good point, Roshni. That is when you really get out of the fear and see like, okay, it does make sense. When the moon is in Capricorn, I'm like really dutiful. I bring the trash out, and I see that I do my chores, and I'm like really I'm more responsible. And when it's in, I don't know, Venus, I'm kind of like lazy and laid back, and or I feel like doing artwork or so.
What about you, Susie? Any questions or comments? And it's such a vast body of knowledge, but when you're you're just looking at a practical sense, we can not water it down, but just simplify it so the fear is taken out, which Stephanie does very well. She's very approachable, so that helps as well. And you also have the ability to look at astrology as an everyday tool, just like brushing your teeth. Instead of using like you can use astrology to brush your soul,
Yes, yes.
right?
Well, this is well said. This is well said because we're not afraid to brush our teeth.
No, right? Like it should be. And it's not an I like Virgos can be like I'm going to use astrology in this particular comment. Virgos can be idealistic. We are, but when you're looking at practical tools that people see in the newspapers, oh, here's your horoscope today. These are in your horoscope for tomorrow. This, oh, you have this horoscope happening on your birthday. This is your horoscope. You know that this tool exists and can be used in an effective manner.
Right.
So, Susie, what do you think?
I think, and thank you so much for the history, for teaching, both of you for the history, Stephanie,
My pleasure.
because I always wondered about the history of astrology. So it's great. And you're absolutely right, Rashni, taking the fear out. And I believe that there have been people or groups that put the fear in so that people who need it for guidance would stay away from it. And I also believe that's the reason why they separated it too. Um, so that the mass, wouldn't, and over time, sort of give it less importance and give astronomy more importance. And I totally agree with you about Stephanie, about being more in the brain, because that was the astronomy part. And to me, the astrology part is that like intuitive guidance, right? That
That is
we
it. Yes.
need to
Yeah.
navigate our lives.
Exactly. And both of us is needed. When I took all the certification classes, oh, jeez, and you need astrology. So I had to like really get to the nitty-gritty. I need to um, measure where is the planet in order to say like, okay, Mars is in Libra right now. But you need to know, if you don't know this, you're not a good astrologer. That is so necessary. Very, very true. It has to be together.
And also, when you look at astrology, it really boils down to curiosity and education.
Mhm.
I was exposed to astrology from a very young age, coming from a South Asian family, and we would always read the horoscopes. And eventually, I moved away from it because it actually was driving me crazy because my mind was playing more with me than the actual intuitive sense. So I moved away from my intuition and just relied on my ego to kind of make sense of everything. And everyone goes through that, right? You have that darkness that you have to contend with, your shadows, your triggers. And astrology at that point did not help me. When it did start helping me is when I embraced it again, and I married a Capricorn. So Virgo Capricorn is a interesting and good solid mix, earth
Yes,
signs.
earthy.
And so you look at the my mom's immediate call after my husband proposed to me was to the astrologer, a Hindu astrologer, to say, is he okay? And the other side said, yes. When's his birthday? January 11th, so 1967. Yes, this is a good match, he said. And my mom's like, off you go. She was happy. She was like, okay, let's plan the wedding. I mean, on a practical sense, it can dispel fear too, which is my point, right?
Mhm.
Like if your mother, as in my experience, you can say, yeah, well, you have that Gemini friend that is probably going to drive you a little crazy, but you need one Gemini friend.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, so my mom dispelled her own fear by pulling in the astrological component in our
Mhm.
family, and it's quite strong. There's no fear around it. The where fear comes in is when it doesn't align with astrological knowledge, which is what I get concerned about because people again start using their brain,
Mm.
right? Their ego starts kind of clouding it, which is quite normal because they don't understand. But if you come from a pure place of intention
Curiosity
uh,
that you.
and intuition,
Mm.
you still can use it in a very, very useful way in
Yeah,
decision
that's the
friendship.
thing. Yes, exactly. Getting really out of this like resistance because we're so
Yes.
framed. I mean, it's really that, especially in these days, we can say that there are people that want us to think certain ways, and they want
Yes,
us to comply and not think for ourselves. But it's really the curiosity that you mentioned earlier, and openness, and just experimenting with
yes,
yourself, and just
yes,
figure it out. And it does take fear. That's so good that you said that also, because when you know already, like, weird energies are going on, and it helps you not taking things personally, because you know, okay, so everything is a little weird, and it's really not that I have two left hands. That's why my technology just it gets screwed up, like yesterday, as I said, with our meeting. And no, it's just the energy that is present right now, and I just stay cool, I stay calm, because when I'm like, oh my god, then I cannot think well. There
exactly. And
was
I think you last time we spoke, Stephanie, you mentioned that and we were again looking at an idealistic view of astrology. Can you imagine the implications of kids learning about what a Virgo is, what a Gemini is, and
types.
how that can how can that soften relationships
Yeah.
and increase the understanding, the intelligence behind relationships when you know that, for example, yeah, I'm with a Gemini and he's my partner and this is what they're somewhat like. Now,
Mhm.
the main thing is we're not going to judge the person, but we accept them as they are. And you have that as a slight lens
Oh God, oh
in
God.
order to smooth out your relationship when you're working on a
Yes,
project, for
that is,
example.
you're
So
hitting it on the nail. I was in a longer relationship when I lived in Mexico, and
yes,
we were, so he's a Virgo, I'm a Gemini, and I have tons of Virgo friends, by the way. The most
I'm not
birthdays
surprised.
in my life, Virgos. But because he was also in astrology, and he was a big factor also who got me like really fired up in serious astrology. But we were able, because we were both kind of like energetic, so we fought a lot. But we
Yes.
were able to talk through the astrology. You are today, your so and so ascendant is coming through, or we use that, so you
Wow.
don't insult the other person, but you're kind of like using the medium of the astrology and saying like, oh, I think this is kind of like in your, like, you're kind of dealing with this kind of astrological influence or so. And what you also said is so true, when I figured, okay, so the archetypal expression of Virgo is that, and then plus Cancer rising, so he cannot be any different. And when you extend that to your family members, difficult family members, yeah, how can it be different? So that's the basic characteristics, and then you can decide, oh, can I handle it? Yeah, I can. Or no, I cannot handle it. Okay, bye bye. And you can make decisions based on that. And it does bring clarity and empowerment for both. I mean, for both in parties involved, because your the acceptance is there. You say like, okay, this is how you are, and I totally can live with that, and I take you for who you are.
Exactly. And the main thing is when you if people might use astrology to judge somebody else. That's not what we're trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
We'll use astrology as a lens to inform and to bridge any kind of misunderstandings
Yeah.
and could also inform communication. Like the implications of astrology are so far reaching.
Mm.
And I mean, to communicate, for example, a Virgo communicating with a Capricorn is much different than a Virgo communicating with an Aries, for example.
Yeah.
But the main thing is to understand where they're coming from and
Mm-hmm.
use that to build your intelligence around the relationship that you're trying to
Yes.
cultivate.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
You have to use that as a tool to cultivate relationships and also deepen them, because once you have that general level of understanding, that understanding about that other person is there, it's apparent to you, and then you can understand where they're coming from and
Mm.
how they are affected by your energetic component as well.
Right, because it's it's like feedback loop, and that's what we want, because we're happy when we're in a relationship and we get into a fight, but it's always, we tend like, oh, I think I should call. We want to repair. This is what the relationship is about, and there's a reason why we are with a certain person, and for that is the most beautiful and helpful thing for me, at least, to see, okay, so what are the influences externally, and how is our blueprint in the relationship, and what is our intent. The intent is so important. So as you say, Capricorn comes to the table with different intentions than maybe a Libra even, or totally different, and there is something that brings you guys together, because I mean, there's so many other factors like the ascendant and I mean, any planetary dominant, like a dominant signature in the horoscope can be the drive that brings us together, and sometimes it's a learning experience. Sometimes it's meant to be like, okay, there's a fight, there's a flare up, and maybe something that we have to learn.
And also to remember at the end of the day, it's always about self-care as well, right? So astrology or not, if you really don't, if you're not energetically aligned with that person, you don't vibe with them, they're not part of your tribe, then it's okay to set boundaries and to self-care, whether it's a Virgo and a Capricorn or not, right? But when you're talking about just a practical sense of certain, there's the 4 components. There are earth signs, as you know, air signs, water signs, and fire signs. So all those components, practically speaking, if you look at it as, as science, air and water, okay, fire and earth, a little better, earth and earth. So all of these kind of nuances with astrology, whether you inform it in a huge way within a relationship, which I would recommend, but it's like this underlying it's like this current that just helps you to maintain the relationship, cultivate it, deepen it, or end it.
Exactly, right? Exactly. And exactly bringing it on the right course in order to go where the 2 parties have decided to go in the first place.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really, I think making logic out of the placement. So taking the astronomy, finding out who of the players is where, and then making logic out of it. That's so true. And the easiest is really when people really are saying like, hey, I want to try it. It makes sense, but what we're saying here, then the easiest is really your sun sign, your moon. Where's your moon? Because that's your emotional life. Your sun will be your essence and what you really, what your vibration is and what you burn for, and then your ascendant, because that's how you go about your life, and that is also how you are seen in life. So those 3 factors, and then people can also go to astro.com. It's a really good Swiss website. You can print out your free horoscope there, astro.com.
Wonderful.
And then, so maybe I think we do have time to go into the lunar phases, right? When I do this real quick, it will.
Yeah, we have 10 minutes. So let's do 5 minutes of lunar phases, and then we can do, and then we'll just wrap up.
Yeah, and also we can, Susie, if you wanted, we can do a snapshot of yours too.
Oh, that's the right thing. I think that'll be important. Like, what does an astrological reading look like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That exactly. Like, okay, so that we can do it. Susie, unless you want to hide your birth data, because I would pull it up here. If you want, then we can skip the lunar phases maybe for next talk.
I can put it in the chat.
You can put your birth data in the chat, but do you mind if I pull up your chart in public? Or do you want to keep it? Because the thing is, okay, here, Mercury retrograde, I did not do the live streaming on YouTube. I forgot, but we will post it there anyway on YouTube and Facebook. Are you okay with that? Or should I?
No, I prefer not to, but I will do, I mean, privately we'll do it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you want maybe to look at your moon, sun, and rising?
Yes,
Okay,
that'll be good.
Do that.
And I
So
don't understand all that. So if you explain it, that would be awesome.
yes,
Okay,
yes,
go ahead and put it in chat.
Yeah,
yeah,
let's capture the essence of an astrological reading, and then
yeah.
get so people get a feel around it,
Okay.
yeah, I think that would be wonderful.
Only with these three aspects, and then next month we can look into a real chart and look at the pie of the 12 fields, which are called houses, and we can look a little bit into that and automatically talk about the moon also.
Yes.
But
Aquarius.
I will not share my screen here now. Whenever Susie has put her data in the chat, I will put it in my software and I can tell you. So Susie, do you have your birth data?
Yes, I
There.
put in the chat.
Oh, okay, I didn't see it. There, okay. Okay, so you're Pisces.
Pisces?
I am.
Yes.
Pisces.
Okay,
I
so
am
that you
Pisces.
can say. Okay, let's see. Add new. And Susie. Bear with me. Oh, it held the same. Oh, my software is so sensitive.
Yeah, I never understood. Well, I'm not, so I'm here because I want to understand astrology better.
Yes.
So I would hear people say ascendant, descendant, even you, Stephanie, right, in our experiential workshop. And
Yeah,
I'm always curious. So it'd be great to understand what that
exactly. It
means.
is so helpful. And as I said, only these three. So, but then we need your city also.
Okay.
And
You
do
mean
you
where I am now?
know
Now or
where
birth?
you're born? Because that's where you
Okay.
bring the energy. That's when you came on Earth, and
Okay.
that is your blueprint. And here the kicker is, if you have a birth time, we can look at your ascendant. If you don't have your birth time, we can't even look at your ascendant.
I have my birth time, but I don't remember what it is.
Okay, so you know what?
I have
Maybe
to
if
find it. My
can do
mom
next
told
month,
me,
you
but
can come on again next month. But then we just
yeah,
do the archetype
I'll
of
try to remember
Pisces.
to find it. Thank you.
Yeah, and then we do it later. So I mean, I can do it, and at least we see, do you have a rough idea? Is it like early in the morning or so?
I thought it was something like and I'm not sure if I'm confusing it with my own kids. Uh I okay, I thought it was something like 2:30 and
At
I
PM?
can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember it was AM or PM now. I'm gonna say PM, but I
Oh,
could be wrong. And it was somewhere in between like 2 to 3.
2 to 3 p.m. So let's just take 2 p.m. for playing with it. So if you were born at 2 p.m., then your sun would be in the 9th house and your rising would be Cancer. And I have to say, I know Susie a little bit. And Cancer is the nourishing sign. It is very, it's water and it's very emotional. And it is all about caring and nurturing. It's the sign that is associated with the mother also, and breastfeeding. So it's about nutrition in terms of food, and that's why it in the body is associated with the stomach. And in case of a 2 p.m. birth, your moon would be in the 1st house, which I share with you. I have that the same, and in the sign of Cancer. And naturally, the moon, it's called ruling the Cancer sign. So moon is naturally associated with Cancer, and it's a very nice placement. So it's in its natural, well-feeling place, the moon. That means your emotions are very strongly sensitive, caring, nurturing, and that's a beautiful thing for a healer too. And the water element, Cancer is a water element, and Pisces is a water element sign. So the two are in trine, And Pisces is very soft also. So you see, it's the same energy, the watery, soft. Pisces is also the spiritual sign, and it is very much about tunes and music, its vibration, its harmony. And then
Everything you said so far just resonates with me
yeah,
in
and
regards
as
to
I
who I
have known
am.
you
And
now.
yeah, and my energy. And then you know me too.
Yeah,
So and so you know that's true.
yeah. Yeah, so that would be, and in Roshni, you're right. If doctors had this, they did in the past, they did look, they would not do a diagnose without looking at this energy also.
And Susie, you are a healer, so I guess I didn't catch what type of healer you are. Healers are, well, not what type. You're a healer, but what do you do?
Oh, I used to be an engineer.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know, I was like that when she said that.
wow.
I know, and I just had like a spiritual experience that totally turned my life around, and
Yep.
totally changed my trajectory too.
Wow.
And so now I say I don't know I'm trying to remember what I said to my friend. He was like, "This is perfect. Uh, I'm an engineer to help people change their energy. So I
Yep.
engineer their energy fields."
Yeah,
Yep.
their DNA.
Wow. That's amazing. That's
And it's
amazing. And
energy healing.
Yeah.
energy healing. Yep.
Well,
Yep.
and the
And
group that we share is called the Alchemists of like the North.
oh,
Alchemists.
I
Yes,
love that. That's
yes.
fantastic. I love
Yeah.
And
that.
Rashni, you talked about the elements of fire, earth, right? Water, all the four elements. What's the other one? Air, right? Did I mention
Air.
air?
Yes. Yeah.
The moment she said that, I was like, wow, that's the group that Stephanie and I are in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally, exactly. And that's representing it. So I'm in air right now. And for me, it's all
Yes.
about communicating. And so now we're doing this podcast is something so new, and it's something so unusual for me because I really like to be backstage usually. But I do enjoy it, and it's so casual and it's flowing. So definitely something new.
It is. And the time is now. And the time is always now because we're always present. That's where the gift is.
That
But
too.
the time on an energetic level is now in order to shift the earth out of its dense nature.
Yeah.
It's now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know where I get that. I just know it's now
Well,
because
you
of
have
my
fine
own
antennas
personal
also out.
experience.
Exactly. And right now with the North Node, which is the like the compass where humanity is supposed to go, the nodes in the sky for all of us, they are in Aries, and Aries is all about taking action. It's like really getting off the
Yes,
sofa and doing something to make this a
absolutely.
better place, really.
Any other closing comments or any observations or
Well, I think I'm looking forward to next. Susie, do you have
Me
yes.
too.
questions?
I hope I'm available. This has been awesome. So grateful to both of
Yes,
you
it would be great.
for this
We
knowledge.
tell universe to make it happen that you are free at that time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I can also, extend it to anyone else that I think would benefit. I will also do the
Yeah,
same and also, invite them to join us if
yeah.
resonates with you, it's okay.
Hmm.
And
Absolutely.
and and yes, we just
Yeah.
keep
It was
one
kind of
ahead of the other.
like a spontaneous thing. I mean, I would say maybe a month ago we started. We like months, I
Yeah.
think we had a month out,
Yes.
and then but we did not advertise it a lot. So
No,
and yesterday I had the input to just put it up in our group that Susie and I share, and I put it out on Alignable and all these places that we are both on also. Maybe
perfect.
somebody that I don't know. We will post it, and it's a new thing, so we will.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you and Susie and Stephanie, thank you so much for sharing the space with me and thank you for sharing your knowledge and your energy with me today. I'm very grateful.
Same, I say the same. Thank you,
Yeah.
Rajni, and thank you, Susie,
You're
for
welcome.
tuning in.
Well,
Was
thank
great.
you, Stephanie, too. And thank you, Rashni. And so good to meet you, Rashni. And thank you very much, both of you.
To the next one. All right, ladies, bye-bye.